and today I'm going to kick off the first tutorial series with a hardware electronics project. This will consist of building a music reactive LED light strip with an Adafruit Circuit Playground Express using MakeCode or the JavaScript version of MakeCode as the programming language. So I'm first going to show you a quick demo and then we'll get right to building. See you soon! Hey guys, it's Esteban. So now that you've seen the demo of the Music Reactive LED strip, it's time to get coding. So let's open up your preferred web browser. I'm going to use Chrome for this demo, and you guys can use whatever browser you want, preferably Firefox or Chrome. And then you head over to the Adafruit MakeCode website, makecode.adafruit.com. Once you've gone there, you'll see this page. This is the MakeCode online editor. So just to be clear, you can use MakeCode's code editor anywhere on any platform as long as you have a web browser. For Windows though, there is a specific Windows app that you can download as well, and that one gives you the ability to see more data, but for now, early in the course, you don't have to worry about it. You can just use the online editor just fine. It still has all the same functionality that we need for this project. So once you're here, you can see some tutorials that were made by other people here, some costumes and examples. But what's really important is that you can click over here where it says the New Project button. So we click on that, and you'll be brought to the empty screen. This is your code diagram, in a sense, like where all your blocks go. So the way that MakeCode works is that it has two options in terms of coding. So if you've never coded before, or you just prefer to use a simpler version of coding, you can use the blocks diagram, and that's what we'll be using for this demo in this tutorial series. But you do have the option to switch over to JavaScript so you can type your code out if you're feeling a little more advanced or want to play around with that. And one thing I want to mention is that you can switch between these modes at any time, and MakeCode will actually take care of transferring over all of your contents from JavaScript and converting it over to blocks and vice versa. So there's no issue with that. You should never have any problems if you want to ever switch between the two, or if you finished a project on the block side and want to see what it looks like on the more advanced side, go ahead, feel free, and it'll be all amazing. You can see what that looks like. But don't worry, we are not going to get into the JavaScript side today. We're going to start off with the very first thing over here, and this is called a forever block. So forever, essentially what it means in this context of Adafruit's Circuit Playground Express is that it's a for loop. So a for loop, it's a loop in programming. So a loop in programming is essentially a block of code that continuously runs forever without end until you tell it to stop running if you ever need to. So in this forever loop, you would put commands or functions or tasks, let's say, certain tasks that you would want to run for the entirety of the time. And what it does is, like, if you, for example, over here, click on one of these, and let's say, for example, you want to put in like a light block. So if you want to show something on your screen, let's say you want to do it forever, continuously, you would use this block and you snap it right in. So the way it works is you click over here what you want to select, click the item itself, and you can just drag that over. So you see that? You go over here and drag the item over from the pane, and it snaps right in. So this is the cool thing with blocks mode in MakeCode. It just shows you the highlight of where it's going to fit in, and it's like kind of like using those blocks when you were a kid, little baby games and stuff and such. You can simply put it in right here. As long as it fits the same thing, it works. So this code essentially is going to show these lights over here forever. It's going to keep restarting. So once it executes this little blue block, it's going to go to the bottom. So it's going to go through every single block that you have lined up inside this forever loop. Okay, it'll go first thing. Let's say you have another one of these show animation, for example. So it's going to do the first thing on the top, and then it's going to, once it's completed this second block over here, it's going to go back to the top and do the first thing again. And this is going to keep on going forever in an indefinite loop, like I said. So that's great and all, but for now, we're not going to need that. Right now, what we need to do is start with something else. So to delete any blocks, so let's say that you've put on here, you simply click and drag over to this side pane over here. This is the trash. So now you're probably wondering, you've seen this over here on the left side of the screen, this pane, and you're wondering what this is. So the cool thing with MakeCode is that it actually has a built-in simulator. So you can actually use an Adafruit Circuit Playground Express, this little microchip computer here, on your web browser. And you can click all these buttons and it would simulate the actual device in the real world. So what I mean by that is essentially, if you were fixing some code or wanted to prototype something really quick and you don't have the Circuit Playground Express, or you don't want to take the time to actually transfer the code over to the device, you can simply run your code and simulate whatever you were going to do on your device. So let's say you wanted to do a push button, you can do it right from here and it'll actually trigger your code. So it's a great way to test your project right before you push it over, and it works really well. I highly recommend it. So next, we're going to go over to what we're actually going to do for this project. And to do that, we're actually going to start off with one thing that's really important here, and that's the actual code. So to start this code, we have to do one thing. So if you head over to your loops section, you click on here on the left side, you can also do a search, but we're looking for the onStart block. So the reason why we need the onStart block is like some code that we want to run at the beginning of the program. So when you first put the code onto the device, this will be the code block that runs at the very beginning. So it says right there, if you actually hover over run code when the program starts, this will be the first thing that happens. Whatever you put in here will run first, and then we're going to move on to the forever loop that goes on forever. So to start, we're actually going to do for this program here, let's move this over, and we need to create a variable. So the simplest way of explaining a variable is that it's essentially a box or a container. So let's say you had a box and you wanted to put certain items inside. That's what a variable is. It simply stores a certain value in a container. So you can name that variable whatever you want it to be. That container, you can name it whatever you want it to be, and then whenever you need that item inside that container, you just enter the name and you can get that item inside. So I'll show you what that means right now. So first off, to create the variable in the MakeCode section, you go over to the variable section over here, click on it, and then click Make a Variable. So the very first variable that we need to create is called sample average. I'll explain what this means when we get to it, but we need to create this for now. And it's sample AVG, if you type it like that. Now you may notice that I did a capital letter A over here and a lowercase first letter here. So this is known as lower camel case, where the first word starts with a lowercase letter. But once you get to other words that are, for example, if you want to do a space, you don't put spaces in variable names, for example. So what you do is instead use this convention known as lower camel case, where you capitalize the very first letter of the next word. So sample average, I would capitalize the A, and let's say we wanted to say even more, you can just capitalize the next one, and it would be another N, and you can keep on going like that. And that is the way you write lower camel case. But for this, we're gonna need sample average. This right here. So now you've created a new variable. That's awesome, right? So at the very beginning of our code, we want to set an initial value to this variable. So we're gonna take sample average here, and you go, like I said, if you're lost here, you go over to variables, grab the one that says set, drag it over to the top of unstart, right there, and you can see you can toggle between your other variables, you can delete it or rename it, but we're simply going to use sample average. And we need to just do one thing, and that's set sample average to 0. Okay, so now that we've done that, that's awesome. We can move on to the very next step. So we need to actually set one more variable here. We're going to create another one, and we're going to call this num LEDs, like this. So the reason why I've created this variable is because everyone can have a different Neopixel LED strip. So Adafruit actually sells multiple lengths of the LED strip, and with that there are changes that need to be made to the code to correctly represent the number of LEDs on the board. So what I'm going to do is create this variable, and if you got the same LED strip that I have a 30 LED strip. So we're going to go over here and click set, drag it over right below sample average, and set this over here. You can enter the number right here, just click and put 30. So now we've set two initial variables. One is sample average and one is number of LEDs. So these are two values that we're storing to use later in our code. Okay, awesome. So what's next? What we're gonna do is actually head over to light. And once you get over here, if you can go over to the second item that's gonna pop up, it's called Neopixel. So click on that, okay? And you can actually click over here. See this drag, the set strip? So take set strip, okay, right here, then press on this little create strip button and select the pin number. So for our demo, we have the code set to A1, and we're going to be using A1 as the pin that we connect the LED signal wire to. So you can change this if you want, but this is the one that we're using for this demo. Next, all you need to do is set another variable here we're going to create right now called sensitivity. Okay, and then we need to make sure that we set this variable sensitivity to 30. So I'll explain all of this later, but essentially it's going to be for the sensitivity of the mic, and it's a very crucial number, so make sure you have that there. Alright, if you like this video, please be sure to leave a thumbs up down below, a comment, and hey, if you like this content and would like to see some more of this in the future, subscribe down below. See you soon. Peace out.